cut the countdown down a little bit short. Sorry about coming to you late, everybody, but one fat guy was busy talking to his daughters, and the other fat guy was busy eating. We're kind of interchangeable, so you can
I
guess which was which.
I was eating.
I was talking to my daughters, so I'd finished one podcast and went in there and talked to them because they both got home while I was doing the other one. So, anyway, Sylvania Football Show. Welcome to the Sylvania Football Show. I'm the Howard Channing, along with QB1 Randall Cunningham, and our guest, as always, is Coach Brad Waldrop at Sylvania Rams. And Coach, first thing right out of your mouth, as soon as I joined in, you was like, "Oh, we're going to wait till next week." I worked the kids a little bit longer and harder than I anticipated today. So we're going to have some kids on next week. So everybody just be patient. We will get the kids on before the end of the season.
Hey,
But
I got a question right there, Coach. When you're working them in practice, if you don't see the intensity and attitude that you need, do you tend to work them longer at that point? Because I know 17, 18-year-old kids sometimes come out distracted, and you got to get their attention.
Well, we got a pretty good group of kids as far as that goes. Just to be honest with you, Randall, they do a pretty good job of trying to stay focused for the most part, as far as keeping the task at hand in mind. But obviously, they are teenage boys; they have a tendency to drift off. But there's a couple of kids that do a pretty good job of being leaders and trying to keep things going and keeping everybody in the same pocket. So. Obviously, every now and then we have to get their attention, but it's not too often.
My daughter plays girls football, and up here that's become a big deal. And until you watch a bunch of girls practice on Taylor Swift album release night, you don't even know what distracted is.
I can imagine.
Trying to jump practice so they get the Target to buy Taylor Swift's new album last year.
yeah, Randy, you're showing your age talking about somebody buying an album.
They still buy albums. Matter of fact, that's a new thing. Trust me, I know. We used to buy albums for $3.99. They're now $49.99.
You are showing your age now.
There ain't no doubt about that.
Yeah, but this gray is earned.
So when you was listening to albums, were they actually like legit albums, or was it a bird with its beak down on the thing like Flintstone?
How was the travel up to Plainview this week? Did you get a good crowd out with you?
You ain't changing subject, or you changing subject something you don't even know about. Coach, good crowd Friday night at home for the Plainview game. Didn't have to travel nowhere.
Okay, well, I was changing subject.
I know. But
it
good
is
crowd Friday night, and it was
a pretty good crowd. So I'm tickled to death that everybody showed up. We had a Veterans Night and stuff like that. It's always a privilege to be able to get to honor people that served this country.
Amen.
If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have today. And we're getting further and further removed from those things as far as having an actual recollection. There's fewer and few people that are alive now that live through those scenarios. And it seems like the further we get from it, I don't know. It definitely doesn't lose its what's the right word? Its relevance, but it seems like we somewhat lose our understanding of its relevance. I definitely don't want to ever lose sight of those men and women that fought for what we have today. Super thankful for them.
Coach, that reminds me this week or last week, not the Mississippi State game, but the last home game, we had a gentleman there who had played for Coach Nealon and served in the World War II. And he was the volunteer of the game, and he was 100 that day. That generation's about gone for him.
They are about gone.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about the Plainview game. A lot of aspects y'all improved on. We kind of talked about that before we went live. Getting better every week. Anybody that goes to the games knows that you're improving every week, getting better. But the one thing, the bugaboo, is the turnovers, the fumbles. Do you think it's more of a mental thing now, Coach?
Well, it's a little bit of that. It's just, and it's not that we're just throwing it down. It's those situations where them guys are fighting for extra yardage and trying to battle and make a little bit of something, more out of what's there, and just get a little bit loose with the ball. And, it's just, obviously we don't ever want to condone that. That's the worst thing that can happen, is putting the ball on the ground. But Friday night we missed a backside block on a play, and we got hit in the mesh. You know what I'm saying? Quarterback, running back mesh. But and neither one of them seen it coming. It come from the backside, and the ball come out. Obviously you don't want any of that stuff to happen, but it did. And then we had one other turnover where, like I said, the kid was fighting for extra yardage in a pile in the scrum. Just got loose with it and it come out. But those things, it's just got to clean them up. QB Randall was kind of joking. We need to start fumbling in warm-ups where we put fumbling in the game to get them out of our system. But we don't.
I put it on the ground.
I don't want to practice fumbling. We're way too good at it already. I mean, the kids, overall, they played hard. We're still making way too many mental mistakes, but they are starting to somewhat understand the system and how things kind of fit together as a whole. As far as the execution goes, blocking scheme wise was better Friday night. They still some things, just, I call them 10-man plays, where you get, 10 out of 11 guys do their job. And then that one guy makes that mistake that, you can't make at that moment. And it's not the same guy, it's not, it's not that. It's just, we just can't have multiple 11-man plays in a row. We've, block something up right and get 7-8 yards, and then muff one and, have a negative play.
Yeah.
And, we just hadn't been able to put very few drives together where we consistently execute play after play after play. And, but we are getting better at that, just got to keep working. I'm, definitely not down on the kids. We're, still trying to progress and get better and keep working hard and just keep chopping wood. And, that's all you can do. And the kids are still all in. We're staying together and working hard and pushing each other and just trying to get better.
Randy, I thought you had something to say.
Well, I actually got two things now. Coach, how many times do we see a turnover that would be a complete hustle play, but the kid, turnovers are like poison ivy. They spread sometimes, but a lot of times a kid is actually trying to make a real effort play and forgot spring football with him. It happens.
Oh, it happens a lot. But you still got to keep the main thing. They call the game football for a reason, because that's the most important thing on the field. At all times, you got to keep that sucker under wraps and secured. And all we can do is just try to get better at that as well.
Coach, I think this point of the season is critical too, because you still got goals to play for out there and still got opportunities. And you said the young men were still bought in. There's still things on Friday night that Sylvania football has to play for, and that could be something after week 10, could be a home playoff game, could be making the playoffs. Is that something you've even discussed with a young man yet?
We didn't, try not to look too much into the future, Randall. We're just one day at a time. I don't want to downplay any of that, but that's part of the next,
Yeah.
All we can do all we can control right now is the right now. We got to try to be ready for the next one. We got to try to just keep working to what hand we've been dealt at the moment. This week, we got 5, and we don't need to be focusing on anything but 5. After the 5 game, we'll move on to the next. don't can't be overly concerned with something in the distant future when you've got a task at hand.
My fantasy team's 0-4, Coach, so I understand that philosophy. I'm
I
just
hear you.
going to win. Go ahead, Howie.
Friday night, I felt like people are going to think I'm crazy. Defense gave up 34 points, but they were going against a team that's averaging around 60 points a game. So to me, it seemed like the defense has improved tremendously over the last 3 weeks.
Well, they just keep getting better and better. We done a few things Friday night, a little bit different here and there that I think gave us a little bit of a advantage in a few areas. Moved some guys around up front and done things a little bit different. Not really gambling, but rolling the dice a little bit with the front, slanting them, and gap exchange stuff. Plainview's got a really good offensive line. They're really big, and we kind of felt like if we moved around a little bit, it would be to our advantage, and maybe make those guys guess a little bit about where we're going to be versus trying to sit in there play after play and just play a base look, and it worked. Obviously, like you said, we gave up 34 points, but gave them a short field a time or two. And had a couple blown assignments and situations where those things can't happen. But overall, like I said, both sides of the ball, kids played hard. They got after it. And that's all you can really ask for is that they keep working, keep getting better. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and to me, for the stat man, he knows for a fact that y'all put a lot of pressure on Plainview's quarterback, even though you haven't saw the stats yet because he's been lazy and hadn't sent them to you yet. But be sure to get on to him and fire him if you have to. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah, unfortunately, I know the guy too. But anyway, offensively, you moved the ball pretty well, but a lot of penalties, still had a lot of penalties. Not necessarily that they were penalties, and we won't get into that. You had your fill of that with the white hat Friday night, and how you kept your composure with white hat out there, I'm not real sure. But anyway, a lot of the penalties really shouldn't have been penalties. But you're the type of team that I've told several people you cannot play behind the sticks, behind the chains. You gotta hope for that 3 yards and 3.5 yards every play because you're not one of these that can air it out if you have to. Well, if you have to, you can, but you're not one of these that can just air it out every time. But anyway, go with that, Coach.
Well, obviously, we wish we could play without any penalties. And, you're going to have some every now and then. That's going to happen. Again, like we was kind of talking about with the turnovers, obviously you don't want any of those. You don't want any penalties. But it happens. It happens to the best of them. And when you get behind the sticks, it's not something that we're really adapt to overcome. It's we're definitely a ground and pound. We're trying to get 3 to 4 yards every snap. Um, we're trying to get 10 yards every snap, but we're happy with 4. But when you get one of those penalties, it puts you behind the chains and makes things really hard to overcome.
With the way the technology is today, you got the drone up there. You can see every play as soon as it happens. How how difficult is it for you to keep your composure when you can go back and look and nearly show the officials, hey, this wasn't a chop block, this wasn't a hold. Y'all missed that. How difficult is it for you to just keep your composure and be able to just say it in a calm manner?
Well, obviously it's frustrating, but you got to keep in mind that they're human beings too. We all make mistakes, and sometimes we think we see something we don't see.
yeah.
It's part of the game. It's part of the human error. It's the same way in every sport. You got baseball umpires that miss strikes, miss outs. It is what it is. But that's just part of the game. You just have to there's definitely nothing you can do about it. It's basically just accept it. There's no need in losing your dang mind and going crazy over something that you can't change. Just it's a little frustrating sometimes because you're penalizing that kid and you're penalizing the team for something that they really didn't do. But nonetheless, it's that's part of the game. It happens. There's missed calls. You turn on a game on Sunday, you watch the NFL play. Them guys are going to miss calls. That's part of it. Human error. If I was calling them, I'd probably miss them myself.
But the good thing about the technology is you can bring those linemen over and say, "Hey, yes, you did do something wrong," and you can correct it right then. And then in some of your cases, Friday night, you can bring them over and said, "You keep on doing what you're doing. He didn't see it exactly the way it should have been, had a bad angle or whatever." So it's kind of a teaching experience immediately on the spot.
It is. That's big. I can't remember exactly. Give me just a second, Al. Yeah.
Did you see any AirPods?
Sorry about that.
That's all good. Let
Reel
everybody
me
know we're
back in.
live. There's no pre-recorded here. We're live, no editing.
Reel me back in, Chief.
Talking about being able a teaching moment, being able to show them on the iPads on
Yeah,
the
I don't.
sideline.
I don't know. I can't. I've been my days and years run together. Obviously, I would say probably about the last 8-9 years, we've had that technology on the sideline, maybe 10, where you can see that, and it definitely makes a difference being able for that, especially for the kid to be able to see it, where they can see, the product of what happened versus what should have happened or could have happened if we'd have done it a little differently. You get instant feedback. Makes a big difference being able to show those kids that on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Randy, you got anything for them before we move on?
Yeah, Coach. We're talking about this week. One thing I just like to get your thoughts about your schedule, and you've got to go to 5 this week, and I know it's not. Don't week 5 comes to Sylvania, right? I'm trying to get it right, but still playing. You're going to play 2 coaches with about 700 wins back to back. You as a coach, do you get excited about that? Not for the kids, just you yourself. You sit down and think, these are 2 guys I've known all my life, and I'm gonna be lined up on the other side of the field from them.
Yeah, well, I played for one of them and played against the other one.
Yeah.
So they both coaching when I was playing. But yeah, they 2 really good football coaches. They've been in it a long time. And anytime you get an opportunity to go against a veteran guy, you try to obviously glean some things from them. For them to be doing it that long, they've done some things right. But yeah, it's always exciting. But obviously the game's not about me and it's not about them. It's about those kids. But so we talk about all the time. If you're coming to try to draw up something offensively or defensively, somebody always say, "Well, coach would do that." I said, "Well, I'm not trying to fool the coach. I'm trying to fool that 16-year-old kid." Because in the heat of the moment, you can't be out there with them every minute. They got to make some decisions on their own, and you're not gonna show Coach Benefield anything he hadn't seen. But you might can show that kid something he hadn't seen. So yeah, great football coaches. Coach Benefield is he's my mentor. I look up to him, love him, and appreciate him, and he knows that. And I tell him that every time I talk to him. He means the world to me. He's my football father. He's when it comes to this game, they ain't nothing he hadn't if I asked him to teach me or show me something, he don't withhold anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the world of him, and ain't nothing I wouldn't do for him.
He might have even helped a few announcers over the years because that little sarcasm jab I get every now and then gets me in the right direction. So, I love Coach Benefield and just how he go back to you. Just for me, it's special because my first Plainview, Sylvania games, Coach Benefield was on the sideline, and in one of the first few, Coach Waldrop was on the field, and his brother before him. So it really means a lot to me as I get older to see players I knew back in the day, Coach, become the coaches. So it is an extra special feeling for me to sit here and interviewing you and know that not too long ago I was sitting in a booth probably criticizing you for something you done dumb.
Ain't no doubt.
Getting back to Coach Benefield real quick, Coach. How often do you speak with him? Have you spoke with him this week? Will you speak with him this week? You talked about him being a mentor to you. How often do you actually reach out to him?
I can't really put a number on it, Howie, but I'd say, it would be, we have talked this week. We talked Saturday morning for, I don't know, probably an hour. And every so often, he'll call me or I'll call him or one of us text the other one. And usually sparks up some kind of conversation. We wind up on the phone together for a while. Yeah, he's just, he's a great, he's not just a great football coach. He's a great man. And, I could sit here and talk about him all night long. So,
Coach, if you don't know, when you throw the tight end, it's supposed to be a touchdown. That was one of the last things he taught me. So,
right.
any throw, it's supposed to be a touchdown to the tight end.
I agree.
That tight end is playing at Alabama right now. So
he is. I didn't bring up no names, but yes, he was playing at Alabama now.
Let's, Coach. It's that time of the show where I normally say, "All right, let's tell us a little bit about Fife." But Fife hasn't changed in 25 years. They're going to. Well, let me change that. Let's go to about 20 years because he did implement the shotgun. And other than that, that's about the only difference, that you see from Coach Benefield because he's just going to try to wear you down and get you into the fourth quarter.
Those kids at Five, they've been doing what they're doing right now. Those seniors for about 10 years, and he does a great job with those kids. Like in the weight room, the conditioning program, and those kids and their parents are bought in, and that makes a big difference. A lot of kids, a lot of places, a lot of programs, kid go home, tell mom and daddy that coach did so-and-so, or I did this and coach yelled at me, and the parent backlashes on the coach. Well, in Fife, Alabama, you go home and tell mom and daddy about coach getting on to you, and now they're mad at you because you done something to make coach mad. That's the biggest difference, because the community's all in, they're bought in, the kids are bought in, the parents are bought in, and he's done a great job building that program and establishing that in that community, and that's just what they do. That's what they're going to live and die by, and they've done a heck of a job with it. They've done a whole lot more living than they have dying. They're going to line up. There ain't no mystery about what's fixing to happen. You're going to line up, and here you go. It's a fist fight in the phone booth, and may the best man come out.
We had the all-state lineman on from Fife, Tucker Wilkes, back last year, and I kind of asked him jokingly, I'm like, tell us a little bit about some of your plays that you're running and all that. I said, it seemed like it's the same stuff over and over. And he's like, well, it's called different. It's going to the same place, but we block it a half a dozen different ways. And so he said that makes it a little bit more difficult for the teams to key on what they need to key on because they don't know where the linemen are going to be coming from when. And so, how do you prepare your team for that?
Well, it's definitely a difficult um, scheme to key up because they do so many different blocking schemes. 99.9% of them are gap schemes. It's just one time they may trap your three technique, your defensive tackle. The next time they're going to trap your defensive end. The next time they're going to try to kick out your force player. And it all, in a, from an outsider's standpoint, it does look the same. But it just depends on who's blocking down where, who they're leaving unblocked, and and then heaven forbid you do somewhat get it keyed up. Here in a minute he's going to false key, he's going to pull somebody out the back door, or do something that is totally irrelevant to the play to try to just mess up your keys. And when they do that, you got a kid that now he's doubting himself. You know what I'm saying? Well, coach said if he done this, then this is where the ball was going. Well, he done this, and the ball went totally opposite. And so, you got that battle to contend with as well. But the thing is, they're big, they're physical, they're strong. Even if you do key it all up right, you still got to win a battle somewhere. Somebody's got to win a one-on-one to be successful, to be able to win that down. And that's always a challenge. And then you win all those wars, you still got to get that back on the ground. And he's over the years, he's had a stable full of running backs, and there ain't no difference in it this year. The Gibson kid is, he's cut from the same mold. He's a good sized kid. He's 190, 195. Runs downhill, runs with his shoulder square. He can make you miss, but he can also run through you, run over you. So, they're a really good program. As good of a coach team as you'll ever see. Quality kids, quality coaches. It's just, it's a great program.
And that 1% of the time is when they throw it to the tight end for a touchdown.
That's right.
That's right. And he only switched to the shotgun because LeBron broke his hand against Colbert County in 92 or 93, and that made him switch. So if LeBron never breaks his hand, he never switches.
Go ahead and say it, Brad.
Well, it's just, I was in 94, but I don't know. When we played, he'd get mad at me for saying this, but when we played, he would kind of say, he'd not really make fun of, but he'd say getting in that shotgun's a bunch of sissy stuff, But he's definitely flipped the switch on that. There's nothing they do that's a bunch of sissy stuff.
Brad, right here on the air one night, we were talking about Colbert County, and he said if he could have put LeBron in the shotgun, they'd beat Colbert County that night. Because what caused him not to be able to play was he couldn't get under the center and take a snap. So out of Coach Benefield's own words was if he had had a shotgun prepared for LeBron, it wouldn't have been an issue taking care of Colbert that night. It was an issue because they had Steve Stanley.
Yeah.
That was an issue, but everything else might have worked its way out.
Maybe.
Coach, we know what Fife's going to do on the offense. They're a ground and pound, just like Sylvania is. But on the defensive side, something that's very underrated that people don't realize is how good their defense really is. They don't give up a whole lot of points. They don't give up a whole lot of yards. And that's something that Coach Benefield has, and for a fact, always took pride in is on the defensive side. So, and they haven't changed on the defensive side very much, but tell us a little bit about the defense that you'll be seeing Friday night.
Well, I mean, obviously I don't know exactly what they're going to be in. They do a good job of kind of changing fronts based on what they see.
Yeah.
You give them a bunch of spread stuff, they'll be more of a 3-man front. And, Sometimes you stick a tight in there, they'll go to a 4-man front. You get to a 2 tight look, sometimes they'll be in a 5-man front. But whatever they're in, they're going to be disciplined, they're going to be physical, and they're going to run to the football. So they got some really good D linemen. I'm terrible with names. I remember kids from 25 years ago by their numbers. I'm not a big name guy because heck, half the time I can't remember my own. But we sat down and talked about games 20 years ago, and I still reference them kids by their numbers. And so they got a couple kids up front that can really, really play. Linebackers, they're downhill, run, and tackle. Their secondary does a good job of not giving up big plays. They're going to make you snap it again, kind of let you self-destruct instead of giving something up.
Hey, Coach, there's some truth to that, though. If you have to put 11 or 12 plays together, it's hard to string that many plays together on the offensive side without some kind of error, mistake, penalty, turnover. So that type of defense have to stay patient on offense, don't you?
You do. No, I mean, they're obviously not sitting back, they're coming after you. They're getting after it, but, they do a good job of keeping a good shell where if you were to break something, they got people in positions to try to get you on the ground and try to make you snap it again. But, some of my favorite moments coaching are those situations where we were able to put together those 15, 18 play drives. I've had a couple that's, that took 13 minutes off the clock, but it does take a lot of discipline and execution on your part. So you make we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. You make those kids consistently do that, and it does become more and more challenging.
Well, we talked about the offense, defense. Let's switch over to the special teams now. Tell us a little bit about their special teams. That's something you don't hear a whole lot about Fife because they don't punt the ball very often, but they do do a lot of kickoffs. And so let's hear about the special teams.
Well, it's another thing I think, they do really well. They got a group of kids on their kickoff coverage team that are, I think 8 out of the 11 are the defensive starters. They cover full speed and they try to get down there and pin you as deep as you can. They do a good job with directional kicking. Trying to, if you got a guy back there that's a pretty good return guy, they try to keep it out of his hands. But it's the same aspect of everything else. Just putting in a lot of effort, getting down the field and trying to get you on the ground as quick as possible. They're not inept in any aspect of the game. Whatever aspect of the game it is, they're going to be efficient at it. They get a lot of reps at kicking extra points, and they go for 2 some. And, just if they have to punt it, they do a pretty good job of that as well.
Randy, it seemed like he was wanting to say something.
No, he summed it up pretty much because the only thing I was thinking is, Coach said it earlier, and I think Coach is of this philosophy too. If you talk to Coach Benefield long enough, he'll tell you championships is won in that weight room. And I think that's the secret of Fife football over the last 30 years and Sylvania football. And that weight room is something dear to Coach Benefield.
Oh, there's no doubt. Even when we played here, we were as hard as you can go. It is what it is. Weight room will change you. When you do things the right way, it definitely has an impact on you. And, it changes your mindset, changes your mentality, and you're getting stronger. So there's not I don't think there's an athletic competition in the world where you're not better at it if you're bigger, faster, and stronger. So in the weight room does all three of those things for you. It'll make you bigger, it'll make you faster, and definitely makes you stronger.
Absolutely.
Well, we get it that hard, Coach. That's the reason Howie and I are soft, fat, and going great.
Yeah, I was only under Coach Benefield's tutelage for 1 year, so I jumped my share of boxes and did a plenty of weight runs. Y'all still jump boxes, Coach?
We do.
Good deal. That's one thing. The smaller box was okay. When you had to get that big box out there, I wasn't real fond of that. But
I hear you.
I was real scared about getting the old shins hit on it.
It's not hard to do.
We curled pterodactyl bones and go ahead.
Yeah, everybody come out Friday night to support the Rams playing at home. Playing at home, Randy. Come out and support the Rams.
You know, my schedule's from 2004. I just realized looking down at it. So
it's a little outdated.
Yeah.
But playing at home Friday night, expect a big crowd. And once again, Coach, let me plug the quarterback club concession stand on the south end of the field and the Band Boosters concession stand on the north end of the field. They're going to have the crock pot specials again in the Band Boosters, and then the hamburgers and hot dogs at the on the south end there. Randy would be tearing up the hamburgers and hot dogs for sure if he was there.
I'll give the Sylvania concession stands a B+ rating, and that's high on the 330-pound scale.
I hear you, buddy.
So be sure to support them. That's one way that the football club's able, or the quarterbacks club able to get everything that coach needs for his players and everything is through that concession stand, and for the band as well. Through the band boosters going through the concession stand. And we can't forget about the cheerleaders. They got to have money too for cheerleading outfits and everything. So they sell the programs. And if there's a cheerleader watching right now, be sure to find me. I got to buy a program I've been meaning to for the last 2 weeks and hadn't got around to it. Find me, sell me one. If you want to be generous, I'll take one for free. No, I'm joking. I'll be sure to pay for it.
Tell him.
Yeah, sell me two. Tell me two if you will. Coach, you've done this in the past, but and I'm one of these. I'm trying to get some tears out of you, but I know it's not going to happen. But being on your sideline, on the Sylvania sideline, looking across and going against Coach Benefield, how are you going to feel? I know you've went against him in the past, but how's it going to feel being the head man at Sylvania under the person, your mentor, that actually taught you a lot about football at Sylvania?
Well, I mean, obviously it's I don't really know how you can put that in words, Howie. Exciting. I don't know, different. Definitely different. Like I said, in my opinion, he's the best high school football coach of all time. I've tried to pattern, a lot of things that we do right now based off things we did, 25 years ago when I was playing for him. Just trying to get kids to believe in themselves as much as I believe in them. Pushing them, beyond the point where they do things that they don't think they can do. And so that's one of his greatest aspects. And then, just the intelligence level, understanding the game, understanding kids. But as far as the way it's going to feel, Chief, I don't know that I can describe that. Definitely going to be different. But it's always a challenge, anytime you have to play one of his teams. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because back in the day, I watched a little bit of film with him, and he will find a weakness as far as the other team, and he can. I don't know how he does it. Nostradamus, I guess he can call. He knows what plays coming before they run it, and it gives him a little bit of an advantage to it. And I don't know how he does it. I know you watched a ton of film with him. Do you have any insight on how he does it?
No, he just
Do
got
you
a
know what
knack
I'm
for
talking
it.
about when I say that? As far as
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. He just got a knack for it. It's just some people like that.
So it's like I can foresee when me and Randy goes to a buffet, he's hitting all the chicken real quick.
Yes, sir.
So
You know that before I run it too.
yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
and another thing about Coach Benefield, and I've been around him for 30 years too, a good man. I think all of us would say that. A really good man. Knows football, but a really good human being too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, unless you do something wrong, then he lets you have it.
Well, that's okay because he'll let an announcer have it too if he asked the wrong question after he lost a football game. It's
Yeah.
all.
Coach, I got a few questions not pertaining to your team, but just things in general, if you don't mind. Just get your aspect on it. I hear, I watch a lot of football, and I hear these announcers talk about offense, defense, and the defense gets tired in a hurry up offense. When a team's doing a hurry up offense, the defense gets tired. Why does the offense not get tired as well if they're in hurry up?
Well, you can kind of, to an extent, control it offensively. Not that you want anybody to take a play off, but based off what you're calling, obviously there's more stress on different players um, because of different play calls. Defensively, pretty much on every snap, all 11 people have to be sold out, because you don't know whether or not you're necessarily going to be involved in the play per se. You may or may not be at the point of attack. And, um, offensively, if you're the team that's controlling the ball, obviously you've practiced that more so. If you're playing against somebody, that does no up tempo stuff, they probably don't see that a whole lot in practice. So as an offense, you've been practicing that up tempo stuff. Your kids are more used to it. They, you practice it that way. You try and snap the ball every 10 seconds or something versus every 30 seconds. So there's a couple different aspects there that has a little more wear and tear on the defense. Different variables that could have an effect on that.
I hear announcers say that all the time, and I never understood why. But after you kind of explaining that, it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense now. I understand what
It
you're
just
getting at.
it's easier to catch 310 pounds than it is to get 310 pounds moving in a direction.
Unless you're Proctor, and then you just run over everybody down there at the
Oh,
goal
yeah,
line.
that's right.
And the last one I'm going to ask you real quick is, I see these teams that'll run sweeps and stuff to the short side of the field where you have no room to let you running back run. Why not run them to the wide side every once in a while?
Well, it's
And I'm not saying you per se. It's just it just kills me when I see teams that always stay on a half of the field there when you've got another half over there that's wide open where it gives your players more freedom to do what they need to.
well, calling plays on offense is a numbers game, and a lot of times defenses will put that extra guy to the field, and so you running that play into the boundary gives you an advantage in numbers. Even though you may have a little bit less field to work with, that's not the deciding factor. Um, if you can get the advantage in numbers, that's really all you're worried about. Um, just deal with what field you got. If you can get a hat on a hat, that's really all you're trying to accomplish.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm actually glad I asked you that because I mean, I guess the older I get, the more irritated I get when I hear announcers talk about defense getting tired when the offense is actually doing the same stuff. But then, by your perspective of it, it makes a lot more sense now. Randy, I'm tickled to death. I got some questions answered tonight. So, Randy, you got anything?
I got nothing. Good luck, Coach, and
Appreciate it, Randy.
play hard. You know, I know
Yes,
y'all.
sir.
Coach, do you want to know who the captain's going to be this week, or you want to wait and let the team know later on?
Well, we'll decide later.
Okay, all right, good deal. I'm trying to get some breaking news here, but Coach won't help me out now. So,
Sorry, buddy.
no, that's fine, no problem. One of these days, we'll get some breaking news on here. But hopefully next week we're going to try our best to get some players on here. I know that we said we were going to this week, but things happen, and hopefully next week we can get some players on here and get a few seniors on here and let them get some recognitions. And Coach, it's that time of night where we do some shout outs.
Hey, I'm just gonna do one tonight, Howie. Well, I'll do two because I ain't never gonna not give my wife one. So shout out to the wife. Everybody knows how much she means to me, what she does for me. But I'm gonna give one out to my mama this week. She I don't know if she just had an intuition or what, but I had been losing a little bit of weight, Howie, and it was strictly because I wasn't eating during the day. I get so busy during the day and not get a chance to go get anything or stop and eat. And I had lost about 15 pounds. And I think my mom had noticed it. Not that that's a bad thing because I really need to lose about 50. But last week she just started sending dinner up here with Daddy every day. So about 11:35, 11:40, Daddy walks in with a plate and said, "Your mama said for me to bring this up here." And she's done it for about the last 2 weeks, and we had a get together over there Sunday night. And I told her, I had lost about 10 or 12 pounds. And I think I've gained it all back in the last 2 weeks because she's been sending me dinner. And she said, it's just how my mom is. She says, "Well, do you want me to stop sending it?" I said, "Absolutely not."
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm 50 years old and mom's still sending me dinner. So, give a shout out to mom.
Absolutely.
Great mom, happy man.
Yes, sir.
It's great. And yeah, mama can tell if baby boy is losing a little bit of weight. So,
yeah.
But Coach, best luck. Everybody show up Friday night, Sylvania football field, Sylvania versus Fife. It's a region game, 7:00 kickoff, and
At Sylvania, folks. Now, don't look at 2024 schedule and try to figure it out.
Or the 25 or the 04 schedule.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Top schedule.
Coach, we appreciate you joining us tonight as always. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and the best of luck. Good luck to your team. I'll see you on the sidelines, and when I get off here, first thing I'm going to do is go and get those stats sent to you. And sorry about being so late. Been a little bit of a busy weekend, but
Totally understand.
yeah, yep, absolutely. So, Coach, if we can do anything for you, let us know, and I'll see you on the sideline Friday night. So, for QB1 that's living in 2004 or what? He's still back in.
Let's get out of here.
He's still living in 2004 schedule wise. I'm Howard Shannon and Coach Brad Waldrop of the Sylvania Round. So good night, everybody, and go out and support the Rounds come Friday night.